For my project, I interviewed Dr. Vidal, who is the owner of Paradigm Leaders, um, Mr. Fernandez, who is a store manager of Publix, and Mr. Hall, who is a maintenance supervisor. Mr. Hall is a maintenance superintendent with Bay County. He has 10 years of experience with Bay County, and he has 5 years of current supervision role with his current employer and 10 plus years supervision role with his prior employers. He grew up in Bay County, and he is a grandfather and has plans of retiring in the near future. Mr. Hall talked of the importance of task management and attention to detail because of the high cost that mistakes can cause. He has found that in his field that sometimes things as simple as failing to grease a component, which costs a few dollars to grease bearings, he has found that in these instances mistakes have happened, oversight has happened, and they result in bearings needing to be replaced, which goes from just a couple of dollars to ensure the greasing to tens of thousands of dollars sometimes to replace bearings depending on the equipment. So he expressed a large portion of his thing to the importance of details in everything we do and in paperwork and ensuring that everything is done correctly. When it comes to the leadership role and management of people, Mr. Hall expressed a sentiment where he stated that fear comes before respect, and that he doesn't handle or allow people basically who are working for him to show any signs of either disrespect or disagreement. He has a very strict mentality when it came to how to handle people. He also expressed a great amount of discipline in everything that he does in his work, even in things as appearance, and to ensure that he maintains strict appearances and schedules and timelines and paperwork. I think mostly that this showed that the importance of what he did and how he came up through management on the side of a maintenance type of work. Mr. Fernandez has worked with Publix for 15 plus years and has been in a supervisory capacity for 8 plus years. An interesting note is that Mr. Fernandez has only ever worked for Publix and has never had a job with any other companies. Mr. Fernandez did explain the importance of customer relations and store upkeep when it came to one of his biggest roles in management and how to prioritize items and situations. He also expressed how far the store could come behind if orders were missed and the problems they faced with shortages in products and people. Especially now in the time of COVID, he's explained that keeping employees has become a struggle, and the importance of having people and help on hand. He also talked about the importance of having to adapt to virtual meetings during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. He also talked of the importance of technology due to the fact that employee shortages. Publix had prided itself in the past of not having self-checkout, but now that Publix is finding it harder and harder to employ and keep employment of people, the need for these technologies and the importance of even stores like Publix to change their model and adapt to the newer ways. Mr. Fernandez did speak of employment and how he maintains a very professional state whenever he's dealing with his employees and his people, and that he expects people to be able to know in the competency of their job and the importance of that. Dr. Vidal is the owner of Paradigm Leaders. He spent 8 plus years as an officer in the Air Force, and he studied psychology and management and has a PhD. Dr. Vidal explained to me the importance of people in the workplace and the importance of understanding each other, even if they didn't necessarily agree with each other or agree with things. One of the biggest things that he's talked of when we discuss leadership is that leaders have to be able to work with people no matter what, and they have to be able to understand and accommodate where appropriate people's decisions and lifestyle choices. He also expressed a great interest in the way that we communicate and to remember that humans are emotional, and as leaders we must be able to guide people even in emotional states. He spoke very much of how to move people out of the emotional state and into the logical state, the importance of being able to identify these situations and to change them. He offered insights such as just how to simply give people a moment, even if it's just as simple as purposely knocking something off your desk just to break someone's attention when they become in a hyper emotional state, or when someone comes into a situation and they come up to you and they're very emotional. He stated that one of the best methods that some people can do is say, I really want to give you the time for this, but at this moment I really have to use the bathroom, and then give them 5 minutes alone to kind of calm themselves down, so that way they can be in a more logical place, and it's very much something that can be discussed so that the problem can be solved, because people tend not to be able to solve problems in emotional states. Dr. Vidal believed that good leaders can overcome a lot of problems just by making sure that they are doing a good job of leading their people and understanding their people, and not just trying to lead processes. In summary, I heard a lot of different perspectives from different people based on their different backgrounds. Some of the people I interviewed were significantly older than myself, by about 25, almost 30 years, while other people that I interviewed also grew up from different regions. I myself grew up in Utah, but both Mr. Fernandez and Dr. Vidal grew up in Miami, and so their culture was very different than the culture I grew up in, and kind of how they viewed and perceived things. But even the difference between Dr. Vidal and Mr. Fernandez, who Dr. Vidal also was the only one who was who had any form of higher education. But even just the way that they grew up, they had a very different understanding of people and management. Like Dr. Vidal, I spent time in the military, and to see and to hear Dr. Vidal's explanation of how the military molded him was not so much of what the military taught him to do, but so much what the military taught him not to do through example. To be honest, Dr. Vidal's views on leadership were refreshing and inspiring, and that we should, in my opinion, we should strive to elevate others, to elevate the company as a whole. Almost all of the interviewees expressed the importance of technology and a willingness to accept technology. While I did find that one of the interviewees did express that that technology had unfortunately passed by, so some of the areas where he felt deficient was in technology, and that can be a struggle, and that's something that we have to be mindful of as technology grows, that some technologies will outpace people's ability to use. But by the same token, we can't let technology in our organizations fall behind, due to the fact that the organization itself will need to grow and adapt to new and emerging technologies, and we always need to make sure that we are following these trends to make sure that we are not falling behind. I did see that a difference between one of these different views of leadership was that some people viewed leadership as a means of control, while others viewed it as a tool. I thought that was interesting because I guess the way they viewed it really reflected in their outlook on how to handle people, and kind of showed a stark difference in personality and methods of leadership.